The purpose of tonight's live session is to speak about the importance of mental health and why each individual needs to have a stable mental health. Great. Okay, so this evening we have this live session installed, and we have a special guest joining us to take us through this and to answer some questions, and essentially for him and I to deep dive into a conversation. I would like to present Dr. Hashmi from the UK, who will be talking to us about the importance of mental health. Now, Dr. Sammad Hashmi is a consultant psychiatrist with over 25 years experience working in the NHS and running his own private practice. Dr. Hashmi is a recognized expert for ADHD and ADD. He has worked in the acute mental health services for both adults and children and has treated patients with varied mental health disorders. Dr. Hashmi is also a special visitor with the Port of Protection and an S12 doctor under the Mental Health Act. Let him join here. There you go. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. How are you, Jaden?
I'm very well. Thank you for having the time to sit down with me tonight.
Thank you. Absolutely marvelous. I'm thrilled to be here with you today.
Very lovely to be able to speak with you. So the purpose of this live is just to deep dive into mental health and the importance and why it's essential for an individual to be mentally strong and have all of these different processes and settings aligned in their mind so that they can actually progress in life, right? So I have just a few opening questions and then some context questions. But I'm hoping that the questions will mainly just act as the baseline, and that we'll be able to conversate past that.
Absolutely fine. Fire away.
Awesome. Dr. Hashmi, in your personal opinion and your professional opinion, why do you believe that it's important for each individual to have a strong mental health position? Why do you think everybody should be structured, why everybody should have a good mental health plan, and not just plan, but be accepting of this mental health plan?
Yes, I would say good enough mental health.
Okay.
We don't live in a perfect society. And life is not perfect. Our upbringing is not perfect. Hence, we can't expect everybody to be happy and cheerful and absolutely wonderful mental health. But good enough mental health, which keeps us going, keeps us strong enough, makes us strong enough to deal with day-to-day situations. I think the most important thing in life is to be content.
Okay. And what would you classify as someone being content with themselves? Wouldn't that somewhat strive as also being happy and accepting of who you are?
Happiness is more of a temporary experience. Like you go to the shops, you buy a pair of shoes, you will feel happy. For how long? An hour, 2 hours, a day, 2 days? Yeah? So we can be happy on little things, but the constant element is being content. Now, how would you define somebody able to feel content? The situation is that we all work on a different parameters. Everybody has its own threshold to feel content. The most important thing is that at any stage of life, wherever we are, if we feel that we are progressing in a satisfactory sense, now I'm bringing some thoughts of Carl Rogers here, that everyone has a set of potential and ability to achieve the maximum. It's the inconveniences in life which actually affect us. So the better we are in dealing with inconveniences, the better. Secondly, I'm a very strong believer, and that is actually the message I am passing on almost constantly, is if you know yourself better, you will do better.
Yes.
My issue is, and that when I see people and when I talk to them, and I think one of the very typical questions, tell me about yourself. Yeah. And this is the question they struggle. Then I ask them, okay, you are married for 20 years. How would you describe your spouse, your wife, or your husband? Can you tell me 3 things you like the most and 3 things you don't like the most? Or 3 things that make you individual, separate from everybody else? These are simple questions, but people struggle. Why they struggle? Because they don't know themselves enough, and they don't know others enough. People they choose to spend their lives with, even then they don't know enough.
And so you say that when asked to describe their significant other, they had difficulties in doing that because they didn't know their significant
exactly
to that extent. But it's like, if you spend 25 years with someone, how do you not know someone to that extent?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. Now, you can spend a life with somebody not knowing that person. The point is, our persona is so strong.
Yeah.
And as a psychiatrist, sometimes people tell me things which they have not even confided with their life partners. They have been together for years and years and years. So we all live with a disparity between our real selves and our persona.
That facade that we put on for everybody,
And the only means what is in my heart, the only person who knows what's in my heart is me.
Yeah. But it's also, to that extent, it's like, do you really know? It's like, if you haven't taken that journey of self-discovery, then you don't know. And
exactly. Secondly, life is full of compromises. That's again one of my theories. Theory of trade-offs.
Theory of trade-offs. I like that.
Basically, what happens is, nature doesn't give everything to us. It takes something away and gives something else instead.
Yeah. So would you say that, in a sense of, let's say, an individual is striving to reach success, and as he's striving to reach this type of success, he's obviously afflicted with adversity and all of that. And during this situation, I've actually experienced this before, where I'm going through a very difficult situation on my path, and I know this is my path, but then there's something more glamorous that shines in the distance, something that's easier to get, something,
yes.
An easier path in a sense. And I feel like that's kind of where we lose ourselves, because instead of staying true to ourselves, because yes, that path to self-discovery is painful, but it's what we learn about ourselves during that pain that is actually, that projects and propels us into the future, in my opinion.
You are quite right that way, but if you come across something which is more glittery and easy to get it.
You don't think that it's sometimes, when something is harder to attain, that it might be more worth in the long run?
Not necessarily. What depends is that, again, it's a compromise. Sometimes you don't want to put yourself into... You can't live without food more than X number of hours. If a destination gets too far from you, it is invariably going to affect your motivation.
Yeah.
So you do need some successes. Now, when I work with people, I have a very interesting strategy to work with people. I don't work on their weaknesses. I work on their strengths.
Strengths, yes.
what happens is everybody in the world is full of weaknesses. We all live our lives full of weaknesses. And if we start fixing the weaknesses, we will never get anywhere. Because it's a failure to start with.
Yes, yes.
Now, if you pick someone's strengths and use, and that is where the discovery comes in, self-discovery. Know yourself, know your strengths. Now I give an example. ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Yeah? Now, a lot of people suffer from that. And a lot of people are not diagnosed. They are labeled as naughty. They are labeled as some troublemakers. They are labeled all sort of labels. But what people don't see is the person is unable to focus and concentrate more than X number of seconds or minutes. Short concentration, but not long concentration to complete a task. But there are three absolutely marvelous things in them. And they don't know about that. They only learn it by chance or by accident. One, attention deficit hyperactivity gives you super intelligence. They are super intelligent people. They can't keep their concentration for long, but the moment they keep their concentration, they do marvelous. They are super intelligent. Number two, they are visual learners. They have so much strong visual learning ability. They see something and that stays with them forever. And the third thing they have is they are really, really good with the manual stuff, with their hands.
Okay. All right.
So even if they're not diagnosed and not treated, they can put these three skills together and match with anything they want to do. They can conquer the world with these three things.
So as you said, so there's a lot of undiagnosed people with ADHD and all that, and they have these labels, of other being, stupid, or they're naughty or anything like that. Do you think that based on them being told this, their outcome changes, right? So if, for example, when you're brought up and you instill into the kid the knowledge that having ADHD actually makes you a genius and you're not stupid or you're not what, but if they knew that, do you think that their body would react differently to the entire array of it?
Exactly. Because what happens is when they grow up and they realize, some of them get the diagnosis, a lot of them don't. And if they don't get the opportunity, they end up spending their life with the baggage. It is such a resource going waste in the world.
Yeah.
But as I again always say, for all parents, talk to your children before you pay somebody to talk to them.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I don't know if you have anything else you would like to add onto the importance of mental health. But I think
mental health is something we can't say that anybody in the world is in perfect mental health at any point. Yeah,
it's subjective, to what that person believes is good in that moment.
Exactly. The other thing is, we all are influenced by our upbringing, by our faith, religion, our beliefs, the way we practice and choose to have our life, the relationships we carry in our lives, all these things. So basically the chemical side of us, the biology of us, and then the social side and the psychological side and the environment we are affected or environment interact with environment, all these things make us the way we are. That's to start with. Now, what we need to do is, I know sometimes mental health symptoms depression, anxiety, most commonly, gets to us, and they become so intense and entrenched in us that they stop us doing something. There are people who are locked away in their own homes for years just because they just fear the world that much. They can't step them out from their homes.
Do you think that that fear could be traced back to perhaps indoctrination, where your parents taught you how to view the world and that perception was skewed? And now that's being given to the offspring to kind of make sense of life.
Exactly. I mean, I have not started my work on, I mean, I'm doing a lot of videos, and I'm going to do ADHD and autism videos now, about to start recording them. But my passion is to talk about child development and challenge the theories which were conceived 200 years ago. Because I believe that why there are so many people receiving so many psychological therapies and not getting better. Because a lot of these things are based on the thoughts which were conceived even before First World War.
So what you're saying is that, in a sense, it is indoctrination, but it happened over many generations, and not just
exactly
parents.
Exactly. So, like, even if you look at it, we still work on Kohlberg's stages of moral development, conceived many years ago. But now, if you look at the world and any nation's moral development, individuals' moral development, is so much complex issue, which actually one act is very permitted in one part of the world, and which is not permitted in other part of the world. Yeah. So
what might be wrong here is not wrong somewhere else, and vice versa.
Exactly. Secondly, what would you call people's mental health who are born and brought up in a very difficult and a troubled part of the world, which actually a child is born and all that child is seen is actually planes dropping bombs around everywhere, and houses are...
So their morals, their ethics, everything is different.
Exactly.
In a sense.
Exactly. And secondly, how would you compare the mental health of that person, where your classification systems go, if you pick somebody from a very difficult part of the world and you try to assess that person on the standards while sitting in the UK, looking at international classification of diseases, or in America with diagnostic and statistical manual, trying to look at it, that fine, this symptom is there, yes, let's make this diagnosis. Psychiatry is beyond that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure it is. It because I don't think psychiatry psychiatry can help and heal a lot of different things. But someone that from the get-go, from being born, has been introduced to such a violent and war-ridden world, it's become nature to them in a sense.
Exactly. That's their normal.
And that's actually a great segue into my next question, which is someone that is in a negative environment, who is fighting these mental health situations and adversity. How would you help that person? How would you advise that person towards navigating to be capable of self-praise and self-acceptance?
Sometimes these challenging situations work amazingly for people.
But only if they view it like that.
If they view it like this. If they don't see any hope, it is one of those things which are very challenging. How to induce hope in a hopeless person, in a hopeless environment, who cannot see the future at all? That person will only spend day by ticking the box and waiting to end the life on this planet, because there is nothing exciting there. And that is where by nature, we like to prove ourselves. Now, it takes me to another interesting debate, is that we all talk about that where all this terrorism has come from, where all these people come from who don't mind even losing their lives for the sake of some imaginative cause. Yeah. If they don't have anything else, what else they were going to do?
Yeah, I see. So
you know what I mean? People need to have hope to live. And there are parts of the world where people have no hope to live.
Do you think that has something to do with the internal hierarchy we have within our own systems? You know, what we place as that entity, that top entity that we kind of gives us hope. You know, in a sense, in Christianity, there's God, and you know, it's in a sense your hierarchy. If you're Christian, God is the highest level that you can have your belief at. So with people that's in a situation where it is a negative environment, do you think that it's the reason why they're not able to self-love and self-praise is because their hierarchy hasn't been structured with something with the most important at the top and leading down towards less important objectives in life?
It has something to do with that. But if you look at the nature of us as human being, we have two elements. One element is good, one element is bad. One element is to do good, one element is to do bad. We know that. Yeah. Even if we say that the different faiths have not told us or not taught us this, as human beings we know that. If we don't do good, we feel better. If we do bad, we feel bad. That's a natural inbuilt computer system in us. Yeah. Now people living in the worst environments and very difficult things, they see what they do as good. Now that's a matter of perception. Like for example, these are the glasses. If these glasses were amber glasses or dark glasses or black glasses, and if I wear it, I would see everything dark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if a child is born in that difficult environment, just presume the child is born wearing dark glasses.
Yeah, it's, in a sense, I mean, if we look at it, and it's terrible because, you know, there are so many countries in today's society that are ridden by poverty, and there are kids that are starving, there are kids that are growing up in these very, 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 very bad, negative, war-ridden environments.
It breaks your heart. It breaks your heart because it is not that the people are living lives such a challenge. We are losing resource. We are losing the strength and the resource, human resource from that parts of the world. How many top brains just go destroyed because they have not been experienced, or they have been not exposed to the right environment, or they have not given the opportunities?
So in a sense, do you think that this is normal, right? And in saying that, I think back in history, and we're always in some sort in a war, or there's always some sort of conflict somewhere in the world, right?
Yes.
So do you think that in human nature, it is within all of us that there must always somewhat be conflict, and there must always somewhat be stress and poverty within certain areas?
You know, as a psychiatrist, I'm going to use the word control. I think what happens is, we are also born with an inbuilt need to control.
That God complex in a sense.
Yes. And control is, I say it quite often actually, control is like a knife. You can cut an apple and share, or you can stab somebody to death. So we all have controls. We have innate need to control ourselves, our environment, it depends on how far our reach is. So if somebody is a top politician of a country, the reach is far higher and far beyond than an average person living in a standard household. Yeah.
And then that carries on into further generations.
Exactly.
Obviously.
But the point is how you use it, how you appreciate it, how you use it, and how you pass it on to your next generation. And that's where I say to you that knowing self is integral to success.
I like that. I really like that, because I know I've actually found it to be really, really true. The more I've learned about myself, the more I've actually dived into the harder things about myself, the things that I don't want to, those kind of things, things that make you feel pain and what you can actually withstand. Those are the things that actually teach you more than anything else.
Like, for example, for any success in life, you need to go for a war. Willingness, ability, resources.
Yes. It's
now,
that
I am willing to be the Prime Minister of the country, but am I able to do so? Or do I have resources to achieve that? So my hope dies straight away.
Yeah.
And I think the ability element, that's where learning about self is important.
So just knowing that I can allows me to do, in a sense, is what you're saying. So just by knowing that you have the ability to change will bring about change.
Exactly. If you don't, you don't. Just do what you are. So, like for example, a simple example, you have got dishwasher and washing machine. Both are perfectly right and correctly invented instruments, household machines, but you will not put your pots in washing machine and you are not going to put your clothes in the dishwasher.
No.
Why not?
Because
it's not going to work.
A
lot of times the reason of our failure in life is we don't know ourselves enough.
Our purpose. And but that's also very difficult, because it's through the self-discovery that you find your purpose. So it's that moment before you find your purpose. Where are you at? Where do you sit before you find your purpose? And it's in this question actually, in you mentioning reflection time, then how important reflection time is for you to gaze upon the impact you've had on society and in the world, and how you improve the world around you. But in a scenario where you haven't yet reached a point where you've made any contribution or anything like that, how do you become okay with facing that reflection time? Because obviously you have nothing good to face. So how would you get over that initial barrier of that initial pain threshold?
You're absolutely right. What happens is that we all do good things and bad things. And sometimes our life is full of difficult experiences. We don't really see any good. Now there are 2-3 ways of doing it. One is, if you are strong enough and you can sit and have a bit of reflection time in an environment which you feel comfortable in, fair enough, you might be able to write some strengths, some good things you have done, and obviously your difficult experiences. Otherwise, a good friend and someone you can confide in, someone you trust is important. I know some of us actually finds really hard to find someone we trust.
Yeah.
Trust is a big issue. But if we find one, that person can be instrumental in helping us knowing ourselves and going on a journey of self-discovery.
In many situations where people do face things like that, we know that pride gets in the way, and we know that these people will often not reach out to these friends and all of that because they're proud of themselves and they don't want to show that weakness. That person that's dealing with it alone, how would they go about overcoming that and actually addressing it instead of just leaving it in the back of their mind?
Now, every state of mind go through 3 stages: mild, moderate, severe. It's more clinical division I'm making here. Yeah. Now, if any situation in mind, any illness or disorder is somewhere between mild to moderate, not go to this stage of severity, then it has an inbuilt ability of curability on its own, the self-cure. Like, for example, you have a headache. You don't take paracetamol, you don't take anything for your headache. Headache is not going to last forever. Few hours is going to disappear. You have body aches and pains. You don't take any tablet for that. Pain is not going to stay forever. The body is going to mend itself. Mind does the same. The only risk is if it slips into the severe side of it, that is where sometimes the needle of our fuel tank goes to the red. And that's where we end in overusing our psychological processes.
Yeah, because I've also noticed that within a scenario like that, it's difficult to get through it, right?
Exactly.
But so you don't think you're going to get through it, and you don't think that tomorrow is going to be any better.
Exactly.
But it will, though.
It will.
And it's kind of like convincing yourself that this moment right now is not going to be the rest of your life. And that point to me was kind of quite significant when I made that.
That is an absolute right question, because there are 2 outcomes if you slip into the severe side of mental state, where the negativity is taken over your thoughts up to the severe level. There are only 2 possible outcomes. One, you drift deep to the extent that you start fearing to get better. The normalcy becomes stranger to you. So you get used to of your negativity so much. Give you an example. You buy a house with 1 room, absolute triangular shape. You will hate that room to start with. But when I come to see you in 6 months' time, you would have made a use of that room wonderfully well. And that will become a part of your house. The triangular room in your house might become the best room of the house, and you enjoy so much that if opportunity comes to move house to have a better quality rooms, you would say, no, I'm happy with my triangular room. You know what I mean? What happens is mind get used to of these things. Mind get used to of depression, mind get used to of anxiety, mind get used to of negativity to the extent that sometimes if you even help to pull somebody out from that, there is a resistance. That why should I come out? That's my comfort zone. So that can be one outcome. The other outcome is that you actually struggle and manage to take the U-turn in your mind. But that can happen if there is something which kicks you off. It's very much like the car is not starting with the key. You may need to push it a bit. So if you hit a situation which gives you that insight and a kick, your mind will go on reverse. You know, mind is very powerful, but we are more powerful than mind. What happens is, mind play tricks on us. We should be able to play tricks on mind.
Yeah.
So basically,
same.
Exactly. If we can bring our mind under control, mind is the best and the worst organ in human body. It's like an untamed horse. If you are able to tame your mind, the horse can be very useful for you.
Yeah.
You can travel, you can ride, you can have a lot of fun on the horse which is tamed. But if you leave it untamed and mind goes out of control, then it can give you quite a difficult life.
Quite a difficult life. So
how to bring your mind under control? How to do that?
So sorry, going back to your previous statement, you were talking about how some people, it's difficult to get them out of that complex situation, out of that difficult situation. So would you say that some people actually establish their comfort zones within negativity and complexity without even knowing it?
Going back to this, yes. Because they give in for their mind to do whatever. Mind takes control. And like everybody else in life, mind likes the easy way out. Mind doesn't like to be put into trouble. Why mind would like to be stressed?
Yeah. And then you were talking as well about eventually your mind gets used to the different levels of stress and all that, and eventually you're able to just cope with it. But from my experience, it's every single situation is more complex than the previous one, right? And it's by getting over the previous obstacle that allowed me to face this obstacle and actually be able to face this obstacle in the first place. So in a sense, do you think that not only does the environment around us change, but as we're changing, our ability to handle even more complex situations stretch as we focus on this ability?
Yes, but on the other hand, we are acquiring more experience as well. Our mind is assimilating. If you have solved a riddle, or if a problem comes to you, if you solve it, mind is not going to present you with the same problem again. Why mind would do that?
That's so true. That's really great. Huh. All right. I think let's move on to next one, which is good enough parenting.
Yes.
You speak about being a good enough parent. That's all that's necessary. But for each individual, that would mean something differently, right?
Exactly.
As perception is different to each person, and so the outcome of that would be varied. So in a scenario where an individual, a parent has now deemed what they think as good parenting, right? But that good parenting resulted in a negative outcome. How would that child now address that with the parent when the parent is completely opposed to believing that that was a negative outcome?
You're absolutely correct. Let's say, what is good parenting or good enough parenting? We all are very different. We all are different people. We all are raised by different parents. Even 2 children or 3 children in one household raised by the same parents are different people.
Yeah.
Even when parents have used the same strategies to raise all 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever children they have. Yeah. So that's one fact of life. Number 2, good enough parenting, in my view, means providing protection to your children from adversities. One aspect is to provide a protective and safe and secure environment. Not to let your children suffer any form of abuse. So that is one criteria of good enough parenting. Now, this can be done by all the parents everywhere in the world. And the understanding is very simple. Provide a safe and secure environment. Number 2, love and nurture. Whatever work is done in the world, what it has proved is, it is the quality which matters, not the time. I could spend 6 hours with my child criticizing him or her. It would not count, rather will leave a very negative impact.
Yeah.
I rather spend half an hour, but with proper focus, instead of sitting with my child on my mobile for 6 hours, showing the physical presence, but lacking the emotional link. That emotional link, even for a short period, is far important as a lifeline for their psychological development than spending duration. That's the second part of it. The third thing what you have said is that parents who believe in a certain manner to raise their children, and that manner is generally not accepted by the society. Yeah. Now, it has two elements to it. One is parents' perception, and the other one is children's perception, what they think about it. Yeah. A good enough parent would never do anything which they don't believe is right for their children. So from their point of view, they always do that. There was a chap called Anthony Starr. He was a psychologist, I believe in 1970s, and somewhere in 1970s, 80s, he wrote an article called Ghost from the Past. And I read that article about 20 odd years ago. I have a copy somewhere, but I won't be able to find it. Now, it was pre-technology era, I would say. So things were not on internet at that time. What he says is, when we are raising our children, our childhood comes back. So the way we were raised in our children, as children, we bring that experience back. So you will quite commonly see that if a woman had a bad experience at the age of 14, the moment her child will turn 14.
I see. But so everything up until that age
is okay.
Everything will be
okay. Yeah. So ghost from the past comes back.
Wow. That is I like that. That's really powerful. Sure.
So when the most important and the most serious job in the world is raising your next generation. Because you are not raising your children, you are raising individuals for this world.
Yeah.
And but it's very simple as well on the other hand. What you need to do, just do 3 things, you'll be fine. Make sure your children are safe and secure and protected. In a safe and protected environment, that's the physical responsibility of a parent. Number 2, spend quality time with them, not 6 hours being on phone.
Yeah. That doesn't create that connection.
3, maintain communication.
Always keep up, know what's going on in their lives. Always keep up.
Exactly. Because, physically what you can do to improve communication in a family, because I love family communication. That is an area of my massive interest. If you make the bedrooms less attractive, less comfortable, only a bed and a wardrobe, don't place every piece of comfort in the bedroom, you will see children downstairs in the living room with you.
So it's about the environment that you place them in.
Exactly.
Within your environment.
Exactly. You have to create an environment where you spend more family time together.
And you see, I've seen that particular problem. I've seen that cause turmoil in families, you know, where the kids are sitting in the room on the phones, and now the parents who
Exactly.
are old school generation, they don't understand this, and they don't understand why it's happening. But you put laptops in the room, you know, you've got a whole desk there, you know, they can sit in their room, they can do work, but now you're complaining that they're in their room utilizing these things that you put in there.
Exactly.
So, I can definitely understand that. And then, in a sense, do you think that the connection that we create, in a sense, or that a parent would create, has the impact on whether or not that child has a stable mental health?
You know, you have picked such a good question. I deal with human personality is again my massive interest, and I deal with a lot of individuals with emotional instability and difficulty in managing their emotions and psychological challenges. And you know, a lot of it is learning. We put it down a lot of to genetics as well, and there are a lot of studies. But in a household, if a child see unstable emotions flying around all the time, how would you expect that child to learn emotional stability?
Because it's all that's on their mind now. That's what they deem as normal.
If they've seen, let's say if they've seen their parents shouting and screaming on every little thing. Now you can't take shouting and screaming out of the household completely. It never happens. I mean, it's unrealistic. Be in a realistic world, yes, parents will have an argument. Sometimes they'll argument in front of their children. But within reason. Everything needs to be within reason and within societal expected standards.
So in a sense, if a child was exposed to a situation of the parents fighting, but after that fight, the parents sat the child down and explained the situation to the child, you think that is what differentiates the effect?
Yes, means if, number one, children are more intelligent than the credit we give them as usual parents. We believe that children are children, they won't understand. They probably understand better than... I saw a young man...
Communication, they like body language and all that, they pick up on.
It's, you know what I mean? I give you two examples, very interesting. I saw a young man, 19, his younger brother was 17, and there was a separate issue I saw, but the parents were separated. And one brother was living with the dad, the other one was living with the mom. But they were together. They said that our parents decided to live separately in separate houses because in our childhood, all we could remember them arguing. So when we grew up a bit, we said to our parents, you both can't live together. You better separate and live in separate houses. Can you believe that? Now,
so the kids actually told the parents put their stuff out.
Now the other thing I tell you, which was quite interesting, I took my boy for his tennis practice, and there was a mom brought her little boy as well. So while they were practicing tennis, that little boy wanted to go to the loo. So the mom had to take him to the big building, to the washroom. I could see the expressions, the physical expressions and the body language of mom, that how big discomfort that little boy has caused in the middle of a tennis training program, that she has to take him to the low and brought him back. Now, as a stranger and a parent of another child, playing there, standing from a distance, I could see and feel that emotions. Don't you think that boy has not felt that?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Did they pick up on that immediately?
Exactly. And sometimes you come across parents, they expect their children to do something, and children don't do this. Fair enough. A lot of children don't do everything. Don't every children does everything. Yeah? And they start putting them down in front of everybody. Why you have not done that? This person is doing it. Look at your friend who's doing it. You know, if a parent is not satisfied with their children's performance, and when children are small, they are actually inducing a lifelong cycle of dissatisfaction in their child. That child can get the highest and the most strongest position in the world. Still that child will actually feel incomplete. You don't know how many top-end people who actually are CEO of large companies, multinational companies, very wealthy, very successful, comes to me and they are just so unhappy with their performance. They want more. They just want to win. Father is dead for 20 odd years, and they talk to me saying that, listen, if I don't get this, I feel that I have disappointed my father.
So it's a sense of insecurity. So because of that relationship that festered, it was a sense of insecurity.
Can you believe that? So again, coming back and repeating myself, raising your children is the most important task a parent could do in this world. You are not raising your children. You are raising individuals for this universe, this planet. You do it right, you will make the difference. And then you said to me, one of the questions actually was indicating that people actually in severe mental illness, so much negativity, if they think that how can they contribute positively? Trust me, everybody is contributing positively to this world. They are just not realizing it. Everybody is contributing positively. Sometimes we just don't realize that we are doing it.
Even indirectly, by making other people realize what they're good at, in a sense, by us doing what we're not supposed to, in a sense.
Exactly.
I really like that. I really like that. And then going back to our previous conversation in regards to people that are brought up in these very negative environments, right? They obviously have these situations they were brought up with, they were born with, that, now are internal scars of theirs, right? And it's not something they can heal from at all. It's not something they can get past because that's who they are now. But how would you advise that individual from moving from that victim mentality to actually reclaiming back their life? Because if you're in a situation like that, I would believe that to a certain extent you have a victim mentality.
Yes, a lot of people are living in that mindset, and even if they are a victim, the choice is only very simple: either sink or swim. If they are too comfortable living a role of a victim, then it's very, very hard to bring change from, even if you have all the services there, all the help for them. If they decide not to do that, you can't do anything about it. But they have to make a choice, either sink or swim. Because the point is, even with the worst mental health crisis, individuals have to take the responsibility as well. In mental health, we are responsible to help people with whatever resource we have, but people themselves have the responsibility for the commitment, some commitment to bring change in their life. If I am fixed that I'm not going to change, how you are going to change me?
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think that education plays a role in that? How well the person is educated? Well, whether or not, yes, I am scarred, yes, I am in pain, yes, and all that, but I can still reclaim my life. I can still be a new person. I can be different.
Yes, but education, yes, but a lot of part of the world, the troubled parts, we might not have that level of education systems or infrastructure in place. And that's where I talk about wisdom.
Yeah.
And the wisdom comes from the generational wisdom from their parents, grandparents. So if you don't have formal education and you don't have mechanisms for formal education, then influences from the generational wisdom we need to use.
I mean, that goes obviously back into the indoctrinated mind. And
exactly. Like, for example, if the psyche of that generation is that that's what we are going to do, and that is the way we have spent life, it's very, very hard to change it. And I have come across people, to be very honest, from certain parts of the world who are so fixed in their family beliefs and their traditional way of thinking that even a PhD has not changed their beliefs. When they go back, they do the same what we have always done.
So you're saying it's more of a combination of education, that self-discovery, the awareness of yourself, and accepting that self.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people have always asked me previously, like, because how do you actually define what you're good at? How do you know? And it's, you don't know. You kind of have to go through that discovery. And a lot of people are not aware that they have to go through discovery. They're not aware that it's okay not to be happy with this job. It's okay that this is not for you.
Exactly.
And people kind of just subject themselves to that complacency forever.
Yes. So how you know that your strengths? I'm going to do a series of knowing self. I've already started working on it and taking different aspects of human psychological processes, which will lead to the same theme, how you know yourself. Because you know yourself better, you will do better. But how to know your strengths? You know what I say to people what to do?
Right.
Just write 3 best attributes you think, 3 good words, what you think about yourself. Be honest with yourself, because the only person who knows you is you. Nobody else can do that job for you. Write 3 words which describe you the best, and your strengths are hidden somewhere in those 3 words. It's magic.
Yeah, it is. And you know, if more people were just aware that it's not actually,
it's not difficult at all.
It's how we perceive this pressure that's painful.
Exactly.
If more people understood that, it could honestly just change everything. I mean, I was even thinking about the way we interpret stress, you know, and I read this very, very interesting case study about people in the US that just by them perceiving stress in a negative manner, they actually had physical detriments that occurred, right? Whereas people that were induced to a astronomical amount of stress but perceived that stress in a positive manner, like, okay, the reason why my heart rate is increasing and my breath, my inhaling and breathing is becoming so rapid is because my body is preparing to be able to handle this pressure. If they thought like that instead of, oh, I'm not able to handle this stress and that's why my body's acting like that, I feel like the whole world in a sense would be able to cope differently.
You know, I tell you a very simple technique, and that's going to help so many people. And I've been saying this, I've actually recorded a video on it, which is problem solving. What happens is, there are 2-3 things. I mean, I wish we could have the whole night to talk about these things. When a problem comes to us, our minds are always already full of useless information. It is not that we want useless information in our minds. It's because the information is presented to us in a way that we retain it. I've done three videos on presentation skills, and that is what I've tried to do, how to pass your information to other people so that the information can be retained. Yeah.
So then goes back into.
But the useless information in here is not my choice. It's the choice of people, presenter, or choice of or individuals who want that information to get into my head, and it stays there. When a new problem comes here, it's quite a hodgepodge. That hodgepodge, the new problem actually just make it much worse.
Yeah.
How to organize your mind. Now what I do is I ask people to draw a big circle and divide it into three. 33.3% each section. So effectively 100%. Divide into three. One section, no control. One section, full control. One section, partial control. Divide the difficult situation, a problem, into 3 bits. Things which you are in your full control. Going for an interview to get a job. Prepare for the job. Be on time. Look nice. Control your mannerisms. Like if you have twitchy eye mannerism, you need to be conscious about it, not to do that. Yeah. Present yourself well. No control, whether you get a job or not. Who will going to interview you? You might come across someone really, really nasty sitting there who just make fun of everything. Not in your control. What is in your partial control? Conversation. The way conversation goes. You can bring and manipulate conversation to the area of your expertise, the area you know better. What else is? They might ask you, have you dealt with this situation before? Instead of saying to them, no, I haven't, you say, okay, I might not have, but if I will come across, I might do this. So telling them that you have not seen that situation, you have never come across this situation, but you are capable of doing it. Partial control. And I say that forget about things which are not in your control, because you are wasting your mental energies by wasting time on things, bringing them into control, which have never been in your control, will never come into your control. Things which are in your total control, if you don't do that, the only person you have to blame to is your own self. So 100% total control things, get right, dress up, prepare for the interview, be on time, all that thing, total control got to be done. Things with the partial control, that's where you focus yourself. Because gaining, exactly, that's where you are going to gain. And you are likely to gain 50% control of the partial control. So that means you have gained 50% control of any given difficult situation. Interestingly, gaining 50% control on any difficult situation is the utilization of 100% of your mental abilities. That's your maximum, because you can't do any more.
Yeah, you can't. You can't.
So you have utilized 100%. So there is nobody to blame to. You have done your best.
So in a sense, let's say that something occurs to an individual but is inflicted by someone else, and that now determines their mental health. It's not in their control, it wasn't in their control, but now they're left with this pain and resentment and scar. How would that person deal with that situation?
Now, if the situation is clinical to the extent of post-traumatic stress disorder, then obviously there are established treatments and management plans for that. If the symptoms are severe, obviously there is a need for medication. Yeah. But there is an element of spiritual healing as well. A lot of people go for that and opt for that. And I tell you one thing, forgiveness carry some magic in it.
And it's forgiveness on your part. It's not necessarily to do with anything or anyone else. It's you
Exactly.
forgiving,
You
not
are
them accepting.
forgiving somebody who has done bad to you, not for the sake of anybody else,
Yeah.
for your own survival.
So in a sense, you still have control because you have control with how you deal with it.
Exactly.
But yeah, you don't have control with what
You didn't have
happens.
control in the past, but now you have a control of what the choice you make.
On how to deal with it.
Exactly. Because the issue is you've got to spend your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can spend the rest of your life with the tears in your eyes, or you can spend your life with reasonable success.
And that goes all back to perception.
That all goes back to perception. Trust you me, everybody in this world carrying a baggage.
Yeah.
Everybody has a past. Tell me one person who hasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But people are still living lives. People are still progressing. So sometimes you have to fight with yourself and gain control over your mind to take the next step. If you let mind to control you, trust you me, mind won't let you to do anything in life.
So do you think that in this century, it's that psychology has become better understood, or that people are just more brave to actually face their pain? Because this pain, everyone being, I mean, there's been wars in the past, that conflicted people and put them into pain, but there hasn't been such a trend in the past where psychology has been such a big thing, where as many people are doing and enrolled in therapy and accepting all of this. What do you think the shift was? Do you think that people have a better understanding of what psychology is, or do you think
Cognitive development. Cognitive development. Because with time we all develop. Like for example, in the last 25 years, what we have seen, the development of, we are on Instagram, we are on, on mobile. Last 25 years has changed the world. Next 25 years will change the world more significantly. That's the direction of travel. So this information, if you look at it 50 years ago, I think traveling 50 miles was an effort. Yeah. So life has changed, people cognition have changed, brains have become more broader. So the acceptance of psychological systems is more, information is more available, readily available. And a lot of people don't really require formal psychological therapies to get better. And a lot of people actually they don't really ask for it either. Because what happens is they are using informal methods to get better. Some people our conversation very therapeutic. So there are a lot of informal ways of people opting to get better.
So would you define one of those maybe as spiritually?
Exactly.
And even I would say to an extent physically, where people would do gymming, put their bodies under stress in a sense, to release built up pressure and all that.
Exactly. But whatever is happening is good. Because people are talking to each other. Information is more readily available. And people are getting benefit of it. Imagine, even 20 years ago, 25 years ago, would I be able to pass the message, simple messages to people across the world? I can do it so easily now.
Yeah, not as easily as you could now.
And when I see somebody responding to it and getting benefit from what I said, it gives you so much satisfaction, you won't believe it.
I mean, this wasn't possible 25 years ago. I mean, we sit in two different countries and we're having a conversation face to face in a sense.
Exactly.
That wasn't possible 25 years ago.
And we are thousands of miles away from each other. It's amazing. But people getting benefit. So information is readily available. Into bringing information. So people are getting benefited from it. And that's wonderful.
I'm not sure what happened there.
We are back.
There you go.
Are we back?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can see you. Can everyone hear us? Everyone see us?
Wonderful. Wonderful. We are back in business.
Just give us a little comment if you guys can hear us, if everyone is here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it looks like yes. I have no idea what happened.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. All right, so I did speak to someone before this, and I know that there were a few people that had a few questions. I'm not sure if they're online at the moment, but if there is anyone that has any questions for either myself or Dr. Hashmi, please do comment it down below, and we can address those questions.
Yeah, please do. It'll be my pleasure.
Yeah, make them interesting questions. Make them really good questions. But yeah, thank you so much for being able to actually sit down and talk with me.
It's my pleasure. I'm more than happy to talk to people and more than happy to answer questions and come back. If they can't think of any questions now, they can always ask me back to talk to them and I'll give them questions. Anything which help people anywhere in the world, I'm more than happy to do that.
So what I will do, okay, so everyone should be able to see both of us on here. So if you would like to be able to message the doctor privately, talk to him, ask him questions or anything like that, you guys can just do that by clicking on his name here and going to the counseling messaging.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that covers most of my questions in regards to that. But the way you perceived these questions is very interesting to me because you kind of perceived it from both points of view, and then you kind of stuck with the point of view that, because I watched majority of your YouTube videos before actually doing this live, just so that I can get a bit of a sense. And I could see that you were kind of reflecting on both sides of the spectrum, and then you kind of went back to what you originally said in the YouTube videos. And I like that because it really shows that there was some thought behind all the questions, and I appreciate that.
My pleasure. It was my pleasure to be part of it. I work only on one principle. I've started doing it. Even if one person in this world get benefited from my efforts, I'll be a very contented man.
And I love your daily videos. For anyone that wants to follow Dr. Hashmi,
thank you very much.
Daily videos that go out, and honestly, I love just.
And you know, this is my favorite instrument, because I believe that if we improve our communication, the quality of our communication, half of our problems will just disappear.
All right, so no one's got any questions for us. All right, okay.
That's good. They can always ask later on.
It must have been comprehensive enough for them.
But lovely to talk to you, Jaden.
It was lovely to talk to you as well. Thank you so much for your time, and I really hope to do this again soon.
Absolutely. Just let me know when you want to do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. You have a lovely evening.
You do as well. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.